Last week I shot my very first PRS match, and truth be told, it was the first precision match of any kind that I had ever shot. Well, I've shot some high power out to 600 yards, and I've hunted and things like that. I've never actually been in a competition shooting past whatever the yardage I've shot in 3-gun, 650 yards or so, but all that with a semi-automatic. This was with a bolt gun. So I want to show you a little bit about the gear I chose, kind of break down the cost for you, and tell you why I chose what I chose. The rifle that I chose to shoot is the Ruger Precision Rifle in .243. And I chose it for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to shoot in production class, which only lets you have a rifle that's valued at MSRP of $2,000 or less. The optic can only be $2,000 or less, and the combination of the two has to be under $3,000. So you can add a bipod, sling swivels, they say you can put a comp or a suppressor on it, and obviously you can have a scope mount, but you can't change any major parts on the rifle. So the Ruger Precision, the way it comes with a Samson rail, allows me to easily mount a bipod to it without doing any gunsmithing or changing anything. The trigger that's in this gun is still exactly as it came from the factory. I have not even touched it. The stock is adjustable. There are several places and locations where you can adjust the stock. The length of pull, the rise, and how all this fits, the angle of the can, all this stuff can be adjusted. I'm running my scope a little bit forward. That's a couple things, reasons why I prefer that, but I'm running that forward and it works really well for me. It's already got an oversized bolt knob, and you can actually fold it from here forward. If the bolt is forward, you can actually rotate this and shorten the gun up so that it fits in a normal case. So $13.99 I think is the MSRP on those rifles. I'm running the Burris XTR2 4-20. It does have the ability for nighttime illumination. It's got a zero stop and resettable turrets. I picked the 4-20 because I saw so many people, Frank Galley and a lot of the guys that have been out shooting saying how they only shoot somewhere between 12 and 18 power, and that when you go above 20 power you end up getting mirage. So while I did shoot one stage at 20 power, I found that they were right. Most of the time I was shooting somewhere between 10 and 15x, even though we went out past 1,000 yards in this match. So I've got the rifle comes with a 20 MOA rail already on it. I've got my optic in a Warren X-Skell. I literally took this scope setup off of my 260 rifle, which I've hunted with, and I've shot some out to some distance, but I've never competed with it. And I put it right on the 243, and I was getting hits out at 550 yards on a 10-inch steel plate. So that's pretty impressive that it will do that. I didn't have a whole lot of opportunity to shoot with no wind, so I got it very close to what I thought it should be shooting in wind. And when I got to the range on Friday, I did a final zero, and I did adjust it left to right on the turret. There's actually screws on these, and you can actually take these off and reset them to 0. So I did take this off and adjusted it 0.2 mils after I shot the sighter target. The bipod that I chose is an Atlas bipod, and it is mounted directly to the rail, adjustable for height. Other than that, pretty much everything that I've got on there is stock. I mean, it's not anything big, nothing expensive. With what I paid for the rifle and what the retail value of the scope and the mount, whole package, maybe $2,200, somewhere in that range, which is pretty reasonable for optic and gun. So what other gear did I take? What other gear did I have? when I've got everything in the way I want it, I've got my yardage picked, I just hit calculate and it will give me my mils holdover, and I can go and look at a chart. So from this chart, if I've got several different yardages, I can actually figure out what I want to do and how I want to engage them. For instance, the last stage that I shot, this is a little armband. The last stage that I shot had 3 targets, so you had to engage in order, W, X, and Y. So I put down what the mills are and kind of a location, and I get it in case I get lost. So that was very helpful to have that information there. I also had a data card printed out just in case. Also, to help me out a little bit, I had a real simple Caldwell meter, and I use this for temperature and wind speed. So that was helpful. It's real cheap. That's about 30 bucks. And then for a rangefinder, I picked up the SIG Kilo. It's really nice. They're inexpensive. I also use the same exact unit for hunting. So it works really well. You can adjust it. For this game, you really need to make sure you've got it steady. So having something like a mount for it or a way to mount it would be cool. This doesn't actually have a mount on it, so you need to either set it on something, or LRI actually makes a pretty cool mount for these. Another cool thing about the RPR is the magazines. So it uses regular PMags. 308 PMags. I've shot mostly 10s, but there were a couple stages where we could have 12 or more rounds. And so I actually would just load the 20 up, and that actually probably helped me because I didn't have to think about or worry about reloading. We had a stage that we need this sling. So I've got this exact same sling that I use in 3-gun with QD mounts on it, and I attach that at on the stock, and I've got a QD stud on the handguard. Worked perfectly fine. Another thing that you'll want to make sure that you take, because you do get to pick up your brass and you'll want to keep your brass, is something to put it in. So I just take my normal brass bag from 3-gun. And then bags. You'll notice that all my bags have some kind of a clip on them, because you're going to want to attach them possibly to the gun and possibly to your backpack. So these are the bags that I took. They may not be the best. I'm kind of exploring some options for some other bags. This bag was probably the most useful. This guy, and I'll show you, I'll put a picture up, but this guy was nice to put underneath, in between my right thigh and my strong shoulder to help me get some better support. I also used a tripod. This is a Primos trigger stick, and it actually worked well on one stage. I didn't work so well, but it worked great. I noticed that most of the guys don't wear glasses. I'm sorry, I'm going to wear glasses when I'm shooting guns. So I've got ESS. These are prescription glasses. They did really well for me. I just adjusted everything to make sure that it was the way I wanted it. I shot my normal 3-gun pistol with extreme bullets. Did just perfectly fine. Got all the pistol points. Yay, thank you. And then every night I would wipe my bolt off and re-lube it with Lucas gun oil. Also, make sure you take a chamber flag. A few other things I want to point out real quick. So the first morning it was a little damp, and I was glad that I had something that I could wear that, one, kept rain off. This is basically the Storm, the Under Armour Storm, but also nice, slick, so that you can slide easy, you don't get stuck, the rubber from the gun and the stuff in the gun doesn't get caught up on it. So that was really nice to have. And then my pack was a 511 pack, which worked perfectly fine, worked great. Had a lot of places for me to attach things to. I kept a little mount on there, so that was really great. And then for ammo, my ammo was 4831 shortcut as the powder. I used Hornady 105 AMAX as my bullet, and Winchester primers and Winchester brass. So I'm pushing the 105 AMAX at about 3,100 feet per second. It's a little bit faster than I really want to be pushing it for barrel life, but I only loaded up 3 loads and I had to pick one and do some practice. So I had about 225 rounds through the gun before I went to the match, and fired about 125 or so at the match. So I'm up to about 340 in this gun now. Accuracy still under half a minute at 100 yards, and at 600 yards I'm right about 4 inches.